How's it going, everybody? It's Andre from the Townhouse team, and in this video, we're going to talk about should you buy or should you rent a townhouse. If there's one thing that I want you to remember, or a quick summary of this video, it's the fact that if you are looking to live at your certain residence, whether it be a townhouse or condo, whatever it might be, for less than 5 years, and then you're planning on moving away to a different city or whatever it might be, then it is more beneficial for you to rent as opposed to purchase between that 3 to 5 year mark. But if you're looking to stay in a specific neighborhood, a specific city, or a specific home for more than 5 years, anywhere from 5, 10, or 15 years, then it is much more beneficial for you to purchase as opposed to lease or rent. Renting or buying has always been a very huge topic. We're not going to get into the nitty-gritty details of it, but overall, if you're looking to stay at your current residence or within your current city for the long haul, then it's definitely better to own where you live as opposed to leasing it, and that's exactly what I'm going to talk about in today's video. So let's jump into it here. There are two major factors as to why it is more beneficial for you to purchase a townhouse or to own where you live in terms of real estate as opposed to leasing it, again, in the long haul. Anything above 5, 10, 15 years, 7, anything in between. But if you're looking to stay in the city and you see yourself putting down roots in the city of Barrie, then it's definitely better to purchase. And the two main reasons are appreciation and security. Starting off with appreciation, I just put out a video talking about how in the last 5 years, townhouse prices in Barrie have gone up 116%. They have gone from an average price point of $350,000 to now $650,000 and $700,000. Obviously, if you check out our weekly townhouse market report, there are townhouses selling for much higher. Now, within 5 years, townhouse prices have doubled. Now, rent has not doubled, it's gone up, it has not doubled, but this price jump has made the barrier to entry to get into the townhouse market significantly higher than what it was 5 years ago. There are very likely individuals and families that had the opportunity to purchase a townhouse 5 years ago, chose to rent for these period of 5 years, and now they are in a much tougher position to purchase that same type of townhouse, whereas had they bought 5 years ago and stayed there, they could have benefited from that initial, essential double of value and appreciation, as well as paying down their mortgage interest and overall just having the security of their home, knowing that this is theirs, only the bank can take it away if you default on your mortgage, which is usually a last case scenario and nobody else can kick them out for whatever reason. I've talked about it before and I'm going to continue talking about it, but townhouses appeal to such a wide demographic of people and uses and all the types of things in between. So buying into that current demand and future demand is a good move to do, because overall, I don't see the demand for townhouses going down anytime soon. The next 5, 10, or 15 years is probably only going to continue increasing. So it's better off for you to purchase as opposed to just leasing it, because then you benefit from that appreciation and that potential future market demand when you own that townhouse, as opposed to just living there, having a little more flexibility. But if you know you're staying in the city for 5, 10, 15 years, then definitely invest into your future, invest into that future real estate demand. And the second reason it is more beneficial to own a townhouse as opposed to leasing or renting it is security. Now, there are a lot of other reasons that kind of tie into this, but overall, security is a very big factor when it comes down to owning real estate. Now, I think it's unfortunate, but we kind of came up in a situation where townhouses and real estate in general appreciated so quickly in Barrie that a lot of clients and a lot of, sellers decided to get rid of their properties to capitalize on it. Properties that had tenants in them. And because there was a shortage of inventory, not just on the rental market and the townhouse market or the real estate market as well, the price of rent went up significantly as well. So many tenants were put in a position where they signed a lease for, say, $1,900 a year and a half ago, but now they had to leave their property. They were given 2 months notice because it was sold and there was another owner's property now. But going into the rental market, they now had to look at properties or keep up with demand, being $2,100, $2,200, $2,300, $2,400 in some cases for townhouses and for detached homes as well. Obviously, when you own a townhouse and you own real estate, it's yours. The only reason that someone is going to displace you from that property is if you default on your mortgage and the bank comes to take it away. But for the majority of tenants and the situations that I came across, that's really a last case scenario. Tenants weren't being forced to leave or to search for another residence because they didn't pay their rent or they didn't pay it on time, or they weren't paying enough. It was simply for the fact that the owner sold it, capitalized on it. It was somebody else's property now, and they just had to move. There are also other factors that the landlord has essentially to their advantage if they would want their property back. For example, if a relative, like their son or daughter wants to move into that property, then it doesn't matter how much money you're paying, or if you haven't missed a payment in your entire 10 years of living there, you have 60 days to vacate the property because it is the owner's daughter or son, and they want to move into the property, and they have every right to do so. So you now have to go and search for another residence. But if you own your real estate and you own your townhouse, the only way anyone is moving you out of there, if you love it there and you want to stay, is again if you default on your mortgage, which for most cases is like the worst case and last case scenario for the majority of tenants that never really came to be. They were always paying their rent on time. This is a really important conversation to have with yourself, with your family members, with your partner, if you're considering whether or not you should purchase or you should rent. Obviously, there are other decisions that I'm not going to talk about here that relate to a very personal or specific matter. A really big one of them being the fact that since real estate prices have appreciated so quickly in such a short amount of time, but income has lagged behind, it is now more expensive upfront to own a property than it is to rent or lease it, because you have taxes, you have utilities, you have your mortgage, you have other expenses that might factor into it, as opposed to leasing it where you kind of move in and you only worry about your space, you not worry about any fixes, taxes, and all these different things. But overall, these are two major factors of why we recommend to transition into home ownership when the opportunity comes along, and obviously when you feel ready for it. If expenses are tight, or you're just starting off in your new career, then it's definitely better to rent and lease, so that you don't have this huge financial burden on your head if you ever need to move somewhere quickly or move out or whatever it might be, when you can become ready for it. But waiting too long also has its downsides, as we've seen. People that potentially could have bought 5 years ago and didn't, and chose to continue renting or leasing, now that barrier to entry is much tougher and much higher, whereas vice versa, you could have benefited from that capital appreciation on that asset. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that gives you some insight of whether or not, or which direction you should take when it comes down to home ownership for townhouses and for real estate here in the city of Barrie. I'm Andre from the Townhouse team. Make sure to check out our weekly townhouse market update to stay up to date on what townhouse prices are doing in the city of Barrie, and we will see you in the next one.